Good to have you with us tonight, folks. Thanks for watching. President Bush famously asked the question, is our children learning? Mitt Romney is asking, are we making enough money off them? The Republican candidate stopped in West Philadelphia today. He was visiting an urban charter school to promote the success of for-profit education.
I'm told about the success of these institutions that you've helped found, and this institution in particular, and would love to get your perspective on what makes it work.
But there are real questions about whether charter schools are working, including the one Romney visited today. The Universal Bluford Charter School in West Philadelphia was put on warning status last year. Only 27% of its students were proficient in math, only 22% proficient in reading. The education objectives of the state of Pennsylvania call for 67% proficiency in math and 72% in reading, so they are behind. Romney told the audience classroom size, well, it has nothing to do with school performance. But the teachers he spoke with today took issue with Romney's logic.
I can't think of any teacher in the whole time I've been teaching, over 10 years, 13 years, who would say that they would love, more students would benefit them.
Right, of course.
And I can't think of a parent that would say, I would like my teacher to be in a room with a lot of kids and only one teacher.
You can give more of a personalized, more personalized attention to each student if you have a smaller class size. So I would have to agree with Mr. Morris.
In first through third grades, if the class size is under 18, those kids stay ahead of everybody else all the way through school, including classes where you might have 25 in the class and co-teachers.
I mean, class size. This is basic stuff, basic understanding of how students achieve. Actual teachers and administrators gave Romney real-life input about the situation in their school. This was his response.
A think tank type organization went around the world and looked at schools in Singapore and Finland and South Korea and the United States and looked at differences and said, gosh, in schools that are the highest performing in the world, their classroom sizes are about the same as in the United States.
Did he say around the world? You mean to tell me that Mitt Romney has a worldly view of education and not American? In other words, forget the real-life experiences of the teachers in the classroom. Mitt Romney will listen to what a think tank tells him. He doesn't have to do anything, and he doesn't know anything about overcrowding or underfunding when it comes to schools and what it will do to them. Romney doesn't seem to care, just like he didn't care when he was the governor of Massachusetts. In his first year, Romney cut education funding to close a $1.2 billion budget gap. The cuts caused local taxes to go up. They also caused layoffs of more than 14,000 teachers, police officers, librarians, and other public employees. In 1999, Mitt Romney said, we don't need to spend more on education. And in his book titled No Apology, Romney wrote, the effort to reduce classroom size may actually hurt education more than it helps. This is why there were protesters in the streets of West Philadelphia today when Mitt Romney showed up to talk education. Philadelphia Mayor Mike Nutter held Mitt Romney to his record on education.
Romney has always opposed investing in our children's education. Again, I don't understand why he's here today.
We know exactly why Mitt Romney was there. He wasn't making an appeal to the students and the parents of the inner city. Romney was letting Republicans know he's committed to privatizing the education of young people in America and turning a profit on grade school students. It's all about the money. In his new education proposal, Romney promotes more direct funding, federal funding for charter schools, more digital education, and more state control over public education costs. We must provide families with abundant school choice among both traditional public schools and charter and online alternatives. Romney doesn't care if the class sizes are overcrowded. More students means more money to keep the schools in the black. Students are just another spot on the ledger, another number on the bottom line. It's the Romney family way. Get a load of this. Take the private equity firm Solomere Capital, for instance. Romney invested $10 million into Solomere. The firm's managing partner is Romney's son, Tag Romney. Solomere has an investment stake in TA Associates, which is the owner of several for-profit schools. How about that? Folks, it isn't about education. It's about making a dollar. Privatizing education takes care of a lot of Republican problems. Number one, it weakens and maybe kills the unions. It allows the funding cuts for public schools so governors can run wild with the budget and hurt kids. Most importantly, it increases the profit margins of people like Mitt Romney and his son. The education of future generations takes a backseat to all of this. For profit. Is that where we want to go in America? There are instances where these charter schools are not performing as well as the public schools. So how would you feel as a parent if you found out that, well, the school's making money, but your kid's behind? Why? Well, they had to make some cuts because they wanted to make some more money. This is not what the founding fathers had in mind for this country. And Mitt Romney all of a sudden has a worldly view of education. Gosh, I remember the Republicans really going after John Kerry in 2004 because he was kind of like the French. Maybe Romney picked that up on one of his vacations. Get your cell phones out. I want to know what you think. Tonight's question. Do you trust Mitt Romney with public education? Text A for yes, text B for no to 622-639. And you can always go to our blog at ed.msnbc.com and leave a comment. We love that. We'll bring you the results later on in the show. I'm joined tonight by Sam Stein, political reporter for the Huffington Post, and Eugene Robinson, MSNBC political analyst and associate editor and Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist for the Washington Post. Gentlemen, great to have you with us tonight. Eugene, this system to me seems like it could be set up to shortchange kids if somebody thinks, you know, we could make more money if we just did it a different way at these charter schools. I know that you have researched and written a lot about charter schools. Would Romney's world drastically change public education in this country?
Well, it sounds that way. You know, there are some good charter schools, there's some bad charter schools. That's kind of the issue. Charter schools are not a panacea, and there's no way education in this country is going to be fixed without a primary focus on the public schools. The public schools educate the children of America. You've got to focus on the public schools if you're really going to have impact. So let's not pretend that we're going to get anywhere if Romney really wanted to go whole hog on privatization of education, he wouldn't. Let's not pretend that he would get very far at all. And some of the ideas he seems to have about class size are, frankly, just ignorant. He doesn't seem to be aware of the research.
They're absolutely archaic. I mean, he is down to the basics and the fundamentals of, teacher-student ratio in the classroom and the results. So this guy wants to be president of the United States. Sam, does Romney's education record in Massachusetts pose a problem for him?
Yes, I think so, because, in concept, people will agree with, okay, education department, education funding could be trimmed, a lot of fat there, we can streamline it, but he did put it into practice in Massachusetts. He made some cuts, he tried to merge several institutions into one. It was incredibly unpopular, if not controversial. I think what he's trying to do now is very similar. I think when people start asking, well, what does it mean for me and my kid, that's when they have a problem with it. And with respect to the class size thing, I mean, this all goes back into the budget battles. Back in September, the president wanted $30 billion more for the express purposes of saving about 280,000 teacher jobs. If Romney were to say, yeah, we would like more teachers in the classroom, I agree with the concept of smaller class sizes, he would then be asked a follow-up question, well, what do you do about it? How do you get that $30 billion passed?
Eugene, the conservatives love to talk about American exceptionalism, and now there are candidates running around the country talking about how they do it in other countries, and we ought to be doing it like that. What do you make of that?
That is, I call it situational exceptionalism. And it is convenient for American exceptionalism when it's not convenient. We want to look around the globe and look for best practices. What fascinating thing, though, getting back to the teacher's question, that's something Romney wasn't talking about, and what current research does tell us is that having a great teacher in the classroom and a reasonable class size makes all the difference, makes a huge amount of difference. And so the real discussion is, how do you get great teachers in the classroom? How do you take experienced teachers and bring, and those who aren't performing, bring them along and bring in new teachers? That's kind of the focus. But he didn't want to talk about teachers because he doesn't want to employ them.
And because it means money. I mean, you have to pay these people to be there. And I looked up these statistics. In 2011, 68% of schools said they had to eliminate teacher positions because they just didn't have the budget money. I mean, this is a problem that actually requires checks, and there's just no money under Romney's budget to do it.
I mean, it seems to me that Romney doesn't understand what tutoring is all about. You know, that one-on-one personal connection, that focus that you can have with a student that needs to be catching up a little bit. He's making the case, heck, if you put more kids around this kid, he's got a better chance of learning. Here's one of Romney's biggest solutions for improving school performance.
Having two parents in a home makes an enormous difference. And so if we're thinking about the kids of tomorrow, trying to help move people to understand, you know, getting married and having families where there's a mom and a dad together has a big impact. And that's, in my view, that's critical down the road.
I didn't know that schools could get involved in social engineering and control the home life of a lot of these kids. I mean, Eugene, how is a two-parent home a valid education policy? I mean, how would that work?
Well, I don't know. That's a whole lot of people are going to be sent to the principal's office, I guess, I mean, this is, you talk to people who work in troubled schools, and obviously home life and family life, a variety of issues, not just single-parent families, but also housing and nutrition and other health issues play a role in student performance and students' abilities to learn. Yeah. That said, what are you going to do about it? I mean, if you're going to fix education from the standpoint of starting from the standpoint of the schools, let's first work on the classroom. Let's work on what happens in the classroom, because that's what you can control.
Sam, why did he go to Philadelphia?
I don't know. I think part of it was that he just wanted to show that even in these Democratic bastions, there are problems that a Republican governor can deal with. But it obviously was not a very smart choice of venue because you had the teachers speaking up against his proposals, you had the statistics that you brought up early in the program, and it's a curious choice for venue. Obviously, Philadelphia is not going to go Republican, but I think he wanted to sort of stick a thumb in the eye of the administration.
Union teachers do not work in charter schools. Sam Stein, Eugene Robinson, great to have you gentlemen with us tonight. Thanks so much. Remember to answer tonight's question there at the bottom of the screen and share your thoughts on Twitter at EdShow. We want to know what you think. Congressman Mike Kaufman is still trying to apologize for saying President Obama is not an American. But his apology, in my opinion, is still lacking. Katrina Vanden Heuvel joins me for the discussion. And Mitt Romney, he is siding with Rush Limbaugh when it comes to attacking President Obama. Michael Medved, Jack Rice, and Elise Hogue will weigh in on that and so much more coming up.